My husband and I have been together for 20 years. When we met, I was going through a separation/divorce. We met at work, and he was a coworker for almost a whole year before I started talking to him romantically. Our relationship moved fast due to the fact that he was getting out of a relationship as well and really had no place to live. He was from Boston and we're in Texas. I agreed to let him move in. I had 2 babies from my previous marriage. My son was 3 years old and my daughter was 3 months at the time. Our relationship bloomed and he accepted my kids as his own. We were married 4 years later. My kids' father was never in the picture and did not have a relationship with them. They grew up knowing only him as their dad. My mother-in-law from the start did not like our relationship, and every phone call was trying to bribe him into breaking up with me and trying to convince him he didn't need to raise my kids. We had a lot of ups and downs due to her input and negativity. Throughout the years, she blamed me for our infertility issues. We were trying to have just one more to complete the family. She would try to convince him I was hiding being on birth control. Also during this time, my kids wanted a grandmother. They would send her drawings and cards, but never received any kind of love from her. Never any birthday or Christmas cards or phone calls. Any normal grandma love. They just accepted that she didn't want to be their grandma. One time she was planning on visiting, but wanted to be sure that she didn't have to spend any time with Usmi and the kids. My husband, of course, didn't want her to visit after that conversation. One time, we dealt with her calling my husband to let him know she started talking to one of his ex-girlfriends and was talking to her on a daily basis, trying to get him to leave me in her own weird way. That was the last time he talked to her. We just couldn't keep her negativity in our lives. We'll skip to 2019, and guess what? After being together for 14 years, at this point, we got pregnant. It was so out of the blue. We stopped trying a long time ago. It just happened, then happened again in 2021. So we are in our 40s with 2 toddlers. Couldn't be more blessed. My 2 oldest are in college at this point in life. We are just living the dream we've always wanted. Well, now my mother-in-law is starting to call and wants to be involved. I don't know how to feel about this. I don't have any good feelings. My oldest daughter and 4-year-old have birthdays only 2 weeks apart, and she only sends and calls for only her grandkids and still ignores the older 2. They are adults now, so they act like it doesn't affect them. But as a mother, I know it does. She ignored their high school graduations but sent money for the babies. Just little stuff like this. I know it sounds petty, but I feel like if she can't accept our family, everyone in our family, then I have no obligation to talk to her. I let my husband do all the communication. But just wondering, for acting this way? Should I start communicating with her? Edit. Thanks for all the replies and great advice. To answer a few questions. How did mother-in-law find out about pregnancies? My husband contacted her to tell her the great news. We were no contact with her for about 8 years prior to the news. He made the decision to cut her out of our lives after she pulled the ex-girlfriend situation. At first, he just told me he wanted nothing to do with her. Then a few weeks later told me what happened. So I am extremely lucky that I have a husband that stands up for his family even against his own mother. I never forced the no contact even after all the hell she put us through. But now my husband maybe thought she would have changed after all these years and is giving her a chance. She lives in Boston, we live in Texas. She has not met the younger 2. Well, she has never met the older 2 as well. Everything for now is over the phone and she sends stuff in the mail. I will maybe talk to him and tell him I still don't feel like she is a good influence because she is still acting like our 2 older kids don't exist. So in a way, we already gave her a chance and she failed miserably again. I have not personally talked to her after he made contact with her, and she has never apologized for any of her behavior in the past. He has never asked me to speak with her, as he knows how I feel about her. I think my husband needs to make the decision on how he handles this, and I think the way it's just him communicating, he thinks is fine at the moment. But we really need to talk about how this will impact the whole family down the line, and if we should let this relationship grow between her and the grandkids. which I think I will just let him read this post. Thanks, Reddit, and I want to thank everyone for the different perspectives, especially coming from the stepkid's point of view. Edit 2. To clarify a few things, people are wondering why I was single with 2 babies. I got out of a domestic violence situation. During my whole pregnancy with my 3-month-old, I was in no contact with the ex-husband. In fact, my current husband was my coworker during the pregnancy, and even though we weren't together, we worked together and got to know each other. His relationship ended because he found out his partner just wanted to get married right away to gain citizenship, and he felt used. I'll admit our relationship didn't have a normal start, and I came with baggage. I can see why the mother-in-law was not accepting of us. Some say I was too quick to move him in, but at that point, we knew each other for about a year. I just had a feeling about him being my soulmate. Sometimes you just know. And here we are 20 years later, still going strong. But as time went on, her behavior became more and more toxic towards our family. I can see how some people are saying she didn't have to accept my kids, but she could have just treated us a little better. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. She has for years made it clear she refuses to be a grandmother. Why start now? If your husband doesn't want to cut ties, he can keep communicating, but she doesn't want to spend time with you, so she'll just have to go out for lunch with just the husband if she ever visits. Pictures of the grandkids will just have to do. Actions, consequences. She ruined her relationship with you, and guess what? If you have no relationship with the mother of toddlers, you have no relationship with the kids. Maybe when your kids are teenagers, they can reach out to her, if they want to, so they can visit her without her having to have a relationship with you. But I don't forgive stuff like this, so maybe I'm harsh. Comment 2. Not the idiot. It's not even about the kids. It's the fact that she tried to poison your marriage for years relentlessly. Your younger kids may have wants of having a grandmother. But I think in this case, it would mean accepting that snake into your life as well. As others have suggested, I'd refuse all gifts from her. If your kids ask, then you can tell them that your grandma really dislikes me and your older siblings, so that's why we don't want to keep in touch with her, because she makes us sad. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, back again with another update on the mother-in-law saga. It's been 3 months since I last posted, and boy, do I have some news for you all. First off, let me remind you of the situation with my husband's mom. She's been a thorn in our side since day one, always trying to break us up and refusing to acknowledge my kids from my previous marriage. We cut her off for years, but after we had our 2 little ones, she started reaching out again, only showing interest in the new babies and still ignoring my older kids. Now, for the juicy stuff. My husband decided to give his mom another chance, hoping she'd changed. He's always been the optimist, so he's been talking to her on the phone, and she's been sending gifts for the toddlers' birthdays, but nothing for my older kids, not even a text. It's like they don't exist to her. Well, my daughter, the oldest, she's pretty sharp. She started noticing the pattern and decided to do some digging. Turns out she found an old email address of her grandmother's and sent her a message pretending to be someone else. She didn't expect a reply, but what do you know? She got one. And it was a bombshell. My mother-in-law confessed to this stranger that she had been in contact with my husband's ex-girlfriend, the one she tried to get him back with years ago. She admitted to trying to sabotage our family because she believed her son could do better. My daughter showed us the emails, and my husband was floored. He couldn't believe his mom was still up to her old tricks. But wait, it gets better. My son, the second oldest, he's been working part-time at this tech place, right? He's good with computers, always has been. He decided to do some sleuthing of his own. He found out that his grandmother had been making donations to his college fund under a fake name. We were stunned. Why would she do that after all these years of ignoring them? My husband confronted his mom over the phone. It was a heated conversation, and she finally broke down. She admitted that she had been wrong about me and the kids all along. She said she was trying to make amends secretly because she was too ashamed to come forward. She'd been following their lives from afar, regretting her choices. But here's the kicker. She also revealed that she's been sick, really sick. She didn't want to worry us or seem like she was trying to guilt trip her way back into our lives. She said she wanted to make things right before it was too late. We were all a mess of emotions, angry, confused, but also a little bit hopeful. Could this be the turning point? My husband and I had a long talk about it. We decided that we would cautiously let her back into our lives, but she would have to prove that she was sincere. No more games, no more secrets. She's been calling more often now, asking about all the kids, not just the little ones. She even sent a heartfelt apology letter to my older kids, along with some late graduation gifts. It's a start, I guess. But the real test came last week. She said she wanted to visit, to meet all her grandchildren in person. My husband and I were hesitant, but we agreed. She flew in from Boston, and it was awkward at first. But as the days went by, she really made an effort. She played with the toddlers, listened to my older kids talk about college and their plans for the future, and she even cooked us all dinner one night. It's not perfect, and there's still a lot of hurt there. But it's a step forward. My older kids are cautious, but they're giving her a chance, which is more than I could have asked for. My husband acts like a baby when I ask him to help with the kids, but after I vent online, he steps up and surprises me with a clean house and date night to show he cares. I, 32-year-old female, do all the running around when it comes to our kids. I have a Jake, 2-year-old, and Sarah, 6 years old. Between taking Jake to daycare and Sarah to school and driving to work, I spend an average of 2 hours a day in the car. This is not counting extracurricular activities, which Sarah has twice a week that I also take her to alone. My husband works 4 days a week and doesn't get off until 6. I work 8 to 4 5 days a week, but I have to leave the house at 6:45 and I don't get home until 5 on a good day. Then it's bath night. I'm exhausted, and I feel like I'm doing all this alone. So my daughter has a party this weekend, and I realized my son is not invited and it's during his nap time. Being exhausted, I asked my husband if he would take her, and I stay home with Jake while he naps. He agreed he would, and we moved on with our evening. Cue the day of the party. My husband is pouting around the house, complaining that his whole day is ruined because of this party. Side note, he woke up at 3 a.m. and Jake woke up at 6 and woke me up crying. Even though he was already awake, guess which parent went to go pick up Jake? Me. I got up and made breakfast for both the kids while he laid in bed playing on his phone. He gets up and starts doing dishes and complaining about how his day is ruined. My husband does have a history of anxiety and panic attacks. I asked him why he is being such a baby after all the things I do for the kids all week long. He claims that despite what I do all week, I'm not forced to socialize with people I don't know, and he is on the verge of a panic attack. And it's not fair that he has to go through all of this while I sit home and watch TV. That his mom could watch Jake and I didn't even try other options. I'm so pissed off, I just said, fine, I'll take her. And I probably will because I do everything, including watching the kids all last Saturday because he had a migraine, or taking them both to my cousin's party alone because he didn't feel well then either. But for some reason, I'm the jerk. He says he would help out more if he got off work earlier, despite the fact that he is off on Mondays and I'm still the one who takes them to school and picks them up. This past Monday, I asked if he could pick them up, and he asked if I would do it. I said, fine. Could he pick up dinner? And he said, no, we have food here. I'll cook. Translation, he was day drinking and could not drive. In his defense, after I got upset about it, he agreed to pick up the kids on Mondays. We will see if that happens. So I guess I will be bathing and wrapping presents and taking my kid to this freaking party alone after all. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Tell your husband to go see a doctor about his crippling anxiety so he can function and actually be a parent. Sounds like he shouldn't have had any children since he can't handle normal child-related tasks. Comment 2, not the idiot. I have anxiety and panic attacks. I take medication for both. As an adult, you're going to have to do things you're not comfortable with, especially when you have kids. He needs to grow up and help you out. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since I last vented about my husband and the whole party situation with our kids. I've got to tell you, these past 14 days have been a ride of emotions and events. I'm still reeling from everything that's happened, but I'm happy to report that things have taken a surprisingly positive turn. So after my last post, I did end up taking Sarah to the party. I was fuming the whole drive there, thinking about how my husband was probably lounging at home, enjoying his ruined day, but when I got back, I found the house in an unexpected state. My husband had actually cleaned the entire place, and I mean top to bottom cleaned. He even organized Sarah's room, which was a disaster zone we usually navigated like an obstacle course. Turns out he felt really guilty about the whole party thing. He confessed that he'd been struggling with his anxiety more than he'd let on, and it had been making him act like a jerk. He apologized and said he wanted to make it up to me. I was taken aback because, honestly, I was ready for another argument, not an apology. The next Monday, true to his word, he picked up the kids from school. Not only that, but he had also prepared a surprise dinner by the time I got home. It was nothing fancy, just spaghetti and meatballs, but it was the effort that counted. He'd even made a little dessert, Jell-O with fruit inside. Sarah and Jake were thrilled, and I was. Well, I was shocked. But the surprises didn't stop there. The following weekend, he arranged for his mom to watch the kids and took me out on a date. We hadn't had a proper date since Jake was born. We went to this cozy little restaurant we used to love, and for a few hours, it felt like we were the only two people in the world. During dinner, he opened up about how he'd been feeling overwhelmed with his job and his anxiety, and he hadn't realized how much he'd been leaning on me. He admitted he'd taken me for granted and promised to be more proactive with the kids and the house. It was a conversation we should have had a long time ago, and it felt like a weight had been lifted. The following week, he started taking Sarah to her extracurricular activities. I couldn't believe it. I was so used to running around nonstop that having a few extra hours to myself felt like a luxury. I even managed to catch up on a book I'd been trying to read for months. But the real test came this past weekend. Sarah had another party to attend, and this time, without any prompting, my husband volunteered to take her. I stayed home with Jake, who, for once, decided to take an extra long nap. I lounged on the couch, enjoying the quiet, when my husband sent me a picture. It was him and Sarah at the party, both with the biggest smiles on their faces. He'd conquered his anxiety and was actually enjoying himself. When they got home, Sarah was buzzing with excitement, telling me all about the party and how Daddy had been the funniest dad there. My husband looked proud and happy, a stark contrast to the man who'd been dreading social interactions just a few weeks ago. And just when I thought things couldn't get any better, my husband did something that truly floored me. He'd arranged for a family day out at the local zoo. We spent the whole day there, laughing and making memories. It was the perfect end to a tumultuous couple of weeks. My best friend's fiancé sets me up with her friend who insults me, so I clap back. But when I find out she had a fling with my best friend before we met, things get messy. I, 27-year-old male, am best friends with Caleb, 27-year-old male, who is engaged to Chloe, 26-year-old female. I enjoy going out to bars and meeting people as I'm currently single. Caleb comes with me, and I know it pisses off Chloe. I've told her multiple times that I just don't want to come sit at their house because it's boring, and asked her to come out with us, but she never does. She had been pushing for me to start texting Emma, 28-year-old female. Emma is a work friend, and I've met her a few times during the wedding process. Chloe gave me her number, and we started texting around New Year's. I learned she had a kid, which is usually a deal breaker for me, but Chloe was excited, so I said sure. Emma and I texted for over a month, and I literally carried the conversation on my back. She was so hard to talk to and never asked questions. I would get one text back a day, and occasionally she'd call me out of the blue, mostly on weekends when I was already out. I tried asking her out multiple times, and there was always an excuse. I was surprised when last weekend she hinted and said yes when I asked. Chloe texted me and asked about the details. The day comes, and I text Emma at 9 a.m. and told her I was excited. I didn't hear anything until 1 hour before the date. I showed up at the restaurant and waited 15 minutes. No call, no text. I was done. It felt like Emma didn't want to be there and didn't care about my time. As I got in my car, I saw Emma walking to the restaurant. I drove home and she called me. I answered and told her that I waited close to 20 minutes and didn't hear anything, so I left. She said she was running late, was sorry, and asked if I'd be willing to come back. I said it wasn't a big deal, but I was done for the night. That was last Friday. Chloe reached out Saturday morning. I told her what happened, and she acted like it was my fault, saying I knew Emma had a kid, was busy, and should have been more patient. I said I had been carrying the conversation, and her friend lacked communication skills. She wasted my time, so I was done with the effort. If Emma wanted to set a date up or be casual, then I'd be in, but I was done giving effort. Emma texted me on Tuesday night. She never apologized and just asked if I'd want to try again. I told her what I told Chloe about the conversation and time wasting. Emma sent this. Lol. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I still expect effort. Especially given you aren't that tall. You'd think you'd be nicer if you want to be taken seriously. I am 5'8", and it doesn't bother me one bit. I sent back, well, sorry you feel that way, but it's pretty hilarious you think I'd take a single mom seriously to begin with. Best of luck. As you can imagine, Chloe snapped at me. I told her that her friend sucked and she should stop playing matchmaker because she isn't very good, and I don't really need it. I'm sorry she hates that Caleb likes to go out with me, but I was patient and persistent with Emma. Caleb is staying out of the whole situation, but suggested I post this here. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Seemed wholly reasonable on your end. Single mother comment was completely fair. She said something she thought would hurt you, so you did the same. It's not your fault she was actually hurt by it. Note, I'm over 6 feet tall, so I'm usually inclined to think shorter people would be hurt. But if you claim not to be, then that's all I have to go off of. She seemed to either have an overinflated ego or was just a plain narcissist. Comment 2. Not the idiot. She was wasting your time, and as you said, has poor communication skills. She had the opportunity that date night to call or text that she would be running late. I always find someone who can't be considerate and take a small time out of their date to just let someone know they're busy or running late. Hence the reason they aren't there, are the jerks and are single for a reason. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. A lot has happened in the past 3 months, and I'm back with an update that's been nothing short of a soap opera. So, after the whole incident with Emma, I decided to take a break from dating and focus on myself. But life had other plans. Chloe, still playing the matchmaker, was relentless. She kept insisting that Emma and I were perfect for each other and that we just had a rough start. I wasn't interested, but Chloe wouldn't let it go. Meanwhile, Caleb and I continued our usual routine of hitting the bars. One night, we ran into Emma at one of our regular spots. She was there for a work event and looked stunning. I couldn't help but notice. We ended up talking, and to my surprise, the conversation flowed effortlessly. It was like we were different people compared to our texting fiasco. We even shared a few laughs over the whole date disaster. Emma explained that her behavior was due to her being overwhelmed with her job and being a single mom. She admitted she could have communicated better and actually felt bad about how things went down. I found myself empathizing with her situation. I guess seeing her in person, away from the pressure of a setup, made me see her differently. After that night, Emma and I started bumping into each other more often. It wasn't planned, just coincidental meetings at the grocery store or the park. Each encounter was more pleasant than the last, and I found myself enjoying her company. One day, Chloe invited me over for dinner, and to my surprise, Emma was there. It was awkward at first, but as the evening went on, the tension eased. Chloe was beaming, thinking she had finally made a love connection. But here's the twist. As the night progressed, I noticed something off about Caleb and Emma. They shared knowing looks and seemed overly familiar with each other. My suspicions grew, and I decided to confront Caleb about it. He confessed that before Emma and I started texting, he and Emma had a brief fling. They had kept it a secret because Emma didn't want to complicate things with Chloe's wedding plans. Caleb assured me it was over, but I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. I was furious with both Caleb and Chloe. Caleb for not telling me and Chloe for pushing Emma on me, knowing her history with Caleb. It felt like I was the last to know, and that stung. The next time I saw Emma, I confronted her about it. She was apologetic and said she never meant to hurt anyone. She explained that she and Caleb realized they were better off as friends, especially since she valued her friendship with Chloe too much to risk it over a fling. Despite the drama, Emma and I continued to run into each other. It was like the universe was pushing us together. We started hanging out more, just the two of us, and I got to know her son, who turned out to be a cool little dude. Things were going well until Chloe found out about our growing friendship. She accused me of trying to sabotage her wedding by causing drama. I was taken aback by her accusation. I had no intention of causing any trouble. Things with Emma just happened naturally. The tension between Chloe and me reached a boiling point when she confronted me at a mutual friend's party. She accused me of being a bad friend to Caleb and a homewrecker. I tried to defend myself, but she wouldn't listen. Caleb had to step in and calm things down. He told Chloe that she was the one who pushed Emma and me together in the first place, and that she couldn't blame me for how things turned out. As for Emma and me, we're still figuring things out. We've been on a few dates, and I'm starting to see her in a new light. She's not just a single mom, she's a strong, independent woman who's been through a lot, and I respect that. Caleb and Chloe's wedding is coming up, and I'm not sure where I stand with either of them. Caleb and I are still best friends, but things are strained. Chloe and I barely speak, and I'm not even sure if I'm still invited to the wedding. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.